Okay, everyone, thanks for joining today. We appreciate everyone's attendance. I'm Megan Kimatek, Director of Leadership and Awards. I am thrilled to be here today with our amazing panelist and moderator. And I'm going to do a panelist. So with that, I am going to move on. First of all, I wanted to thank Zello, who is our sponsor today. They have sponsored the publication series as well as these webinars. So we are grateful for them and for highlighting these amazing partnerships going forward. So thank you to them. With that, I wanted to just mention that we have some upcoming webinars. The next one is on April 12th. We hope you will register today. The link to register is right here. This link is also where we'll be posting the recording from this webinar today. So we expect people to share the link and come visit. So also, if you aren't a member of ACTE, we hope you will consider being a member of ACTE. This is our link to join. And if you have any questions, please message me and I will be happy to put you in contact with the Director of Membership for ACTE. With that, I am pleased to introduce our moderator, Nicole Cobb. Dr. Nicole Cobb has worked in education for 25 years as a teacher, school counselor, and administrator at the district and state level. Her professional experience has allowed her to link research to practice in the field of school counseling and career and technical education. Nicole is currently a professor at Vanderbilt University, training future school counselors, teachers, and administrators. She serves as the president of the Tennessee Counseling Association and was recently appointed by Governor Bill Lee to serve on the CTE Advisory Council. She is the past vice president of ACT's Counseling and Career Development Division. Nicole, I am so thankful that you're here, so I will hand it over to you. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Megan. I wouldn't miss this. I'm so excited about this webinar and all the things that our attendees are about to learn. This is just one of the most outstanding panels that I've ever gotten to be a part of, and I'm excited to introduce them to you now. First off is Dr. Brian Albrecht. He serves as the president and chief executive for Gateway Technical College. Gateway is located in Southeast Wisconsin and provides academic and workforce solutions for students and employers throughout the region. Under Brian's leadership, Gateway has established a national leadership position in the development of innovative learning strategies, model business, and industry partnerships and community engagement. He takes pride in giving back to his community, serving on several local, state, and national boards, including the American Technical Education Association, National Manufacturing Skills Standards Council, National Center for Occupational Research and Development, the National Coalition of Certification Centers, the Wisconsin State Workforce Board, and several local community boards. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Nicole.
Next, we have Jim Ladwick. He's been with SC Johnson since 2016 and currently serves as the Senior Director of Global Community Affairs. In this role, Jim guides the development and execution of SC Johnson's philanthropic strategy. This strategy focuses on creating a world with more opportunity, a healthier world, and a more sustainable world. As a company, SC Johnson donates 5% of pre-tax profits to charity annually. Jim is deeply committed to community service. He currently serves on the following boards: Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, Lansing County Workforce Development Board, Lansing Area Manufacturers and Commerce, United Way of Russian County, and the 21st Century Preparatory School. Welcome, Jim. You're really busy, all those boards. How do you do it? I'm feeling like Nicole. I need to step it up over here. Right. Next up, we have Matthew Janison. He's been the Vice President of the Business and Workforce Solutions Division at Gateway Technical College in Kenosha, Wisconsin since 2017. His primary role is to oversee outreach to business and industry, apprenticeship, customized contract training, Fab Lab, student support, in community outreach, business partnerships, and specialized collaborative training initiatives, working with organizations, including the Department of Corrections, local workforce agencies, and private donors. The work done in BWS connects many aspects of college and its mission to business and industry and facilitates deeper relationships. So welcome. And then last but definitely not least, we are so excited to have a product of this partnership that you're going to see here with us, having Sherry Lynn Carrion. She worked for 30 years in food service. Yes. And then when the pandemic hit, thought, oh, I've got to reassess and think about something else. And she says that receiving a Hope Scholarship is like receiving a beautifully wrapped present. In that box was the gift of hope, the gift of a great teacher and nurse, Sarah. She keeps unpacking all these things and says, wow, the gift of courage. Wow, the gift of confidence. It built my self-esteem, my self-worth. I can't even explain. I'm overjoyed. I'm beyond grateful. It's all in this box labeled hope. So welcome everyone and attendees. I just can't wait for you to hear about hope. We'll start off with our first question on how did Gateway Technical College and SC Johnson collaborate successfully to develop this partnership?
Nicole, I'm happy to start. I'm happy to start with this. First of all, I just want to say thank you to you and your leadership across the nation, helping our counselors and our teachers. It's so important, and a great credit to ACTE for hosting the webinar to share some best practices. We're one of many best practices across the nation, and we're proud that we were selected to be a part of the webinar. But please know that there's more that we can learn as well. So if others can get involved and participate in sharing these great ideas, we can only strengthen the nation's workforce through our youth and adults. And I want to thank Jim for being with us, just a great champion and advocate for what we do here in Southeast Wisconsin. Of course, Matt, who delivers upon that promise at our college. And then you already heard a little bit about Sherry, but I think we should just turn the whole webinar over to Sherry, because it's the heart and soul of what we need to talk about today, and that is how do we establish partnerships to build hope for students and graduates of our programs. But in that light, just a little bit of history. Gateway was founded in 1911, so we've been in our community for a very long time, as has SC Johnson Corporation. So we kind of grew up together over all the decades, making sure that we're insightly aware of some of the challenges within our community. So I would boil the partnership down into three big categories. First being leadership. And I just want to thank publicly Fisk Johnson, the CEO for SC Johnson Corporation. There is not a greater champion in our community for the role that education can play in helping people lift themselves up in their chosen life's work. So he is the model for what we stand for at the college, and many of others have followed in that pursuit. But today we have Jim with us, who is the amplifier of that vision, who allows us in our communities to provide new solutions, different ideas and strategies on how we can engage our community to help build economic prosperity. And as you heard, the philanthropy arm of SC Johnson helps us with little seed money to get things off the ground. So we'll talk more about that in a minute, but leadership is probably the biggest catalyst for change that I've seen here at the college. And I've been fortunate to serve Gateway now for 16 years as the president. And it's a daily effort to make sure that we're connected. And I think that's one of the takeaways for our audience would be that you just can't take a break from this. You've got to always be all in for your community. Yeah. Second big bucket I would say that I would encourage people to look at was identified shared values. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And we know very importantly that, the technical college in our community is so important for those individuals that might be new to our community, might be reskilling to get jobs to improve their lifestyle. And also for those that maybe have been displaced in our community, maybe the changes in the economy, and so now there's a chance to come back to the college to be retrained. So shared values. And I'm sure Jim will talk about that, because the focus of SC Johnson Corporation is to strengthen the community. And you see that in their mission statement. So that's a key bucket. Identify where those common elements are. They don't have to be 100% aligned, but they do need to be pointing in the same direction. So that would be my second takeaway. And the third one would be to really classify and help identify some level of specific need. You've got to go into these ideas with something you're trying to accomplish, right? And it can't always just be the school or the college coming with their handout saying we need money. There has to be a specific outcome. And Jim will tell you a measurable outcome of what you're trying to accomplish so that we can do all the other things. We can engage leadership, we can align our shared values, and we can put a program in place that's going to be sustainable and change the lives of the people that we're trying to serve. And I think Sherry's a good example of one of the great partnerships we have with SC Johnson called our Hope Scholars Program. I'd like to just maybe hear from Jim a little bit on his perspective of the importance of partnership.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, ACT, and Nicole. Thank you for moderating in your kind words. And you had mentioned, how do you accomplish all of that? And Brian really hit the nail on the head when he brought up our chairman and CEO, Fisk Johnson. And what I was going to say is I work for a tremendous organization and company in SC Johnson that gives me the ability to participate in a lot of those on those boards, those committees. And really, one of our core pillars is to help make the communities we're in a better place because we're there. And obviously, where does that start? That starts with the people in the community and creating those social and economic mobility opportunities that may not exist. And really it occurs through collaborative partnerships. And Brian really touched on that when he indicated identify shared values. And another way we do it is we identify problems facing the community, and then we collaborate and work together to find what is that solution to the problem. And that's how a lot of our partnerships have started, is we've identified where there may be a gap in the community. And a lot of that goes into employment opportunities, going all the way back, even before, I took this position. We were looking at partnering with Gateway on boot camps in general. There was basically, how did that start? You looked at it and our community had one of the highest unemployment rates, excuse me, in the state, if not the highest. But then you looked at when you'd meet with employers, and what did employers say? Well, we can't find employees. We can't find workers. So, well, let's see, there's a gap here. There's this high unemployment rate where people are saying we can't find jobs, and the employers are saying we can't find employees. So what do? Is you collaborate, identify that problem, and come up with solutions. And that's how the original boot camp started, was how do we train individuals that may not have had the same opportunities as others in the community, may have been on the sidelines, and how do we bring them into the game, create that opportunity where they have the ability to upskill, to and put together a program that works. But also, to Brian's point, and he'll tell you probably ad nauseum, is I'm always talking about how do we measure success? How do we improve the program? What is that? So that's another avenue that we tie into a lot of our partnerships, is what is the measurement tool? How are we going to consistently measure that? And then it just provides opportunities to build a better and more successful program along the way. And to that point, one of the problems we identified originally in the boot camps was, there's a skills gap, but there's also a soft skills gap. So it was, okay, we need to build that into the program. So it's not just the technical education, it's really how do we build a better, a more desirable employee? How do we build a better employee? And that was part of it. And then employers have to say, what do we do to contribute to that? How do we, contribute to the education, the opportunities, and understand that it really is a collaborative effort. So it's about finding great partners, and that includes the participants, That includes the partners that we have, whether it be Gateway or, you know, the workforce development boards, all of that, to identify opportunities that exist and come together and hopefully come up with a viable solution that benefits everybody in the community.
Yeah, thank you. Brian and Jim, what great models of organizations that bring their vision to life. It's not just a pretty statement on paper, but you're living that vision. And Jim, my students would also say, I harp on data. What gets measured gets done. And without data, how do we continuously improve? So I really think it's critical as we start these programs and think about partnerships and serving our youth. We've got to have quantifiable data behind it. So I can appreciate that.
Absolutely.
As I think about, you know, what you're saying about our communities and the needs and these skill gaps and soft skills gaps, I can't help but think about our students. And so how is Gateway targeting and supporting students in high school before they even graduate to get ahead in these fields? Matt, Jim, and Sherry, I bet you all have something to say about that.
Yeah, I can start with that. So, you know, the first thing really is just getting the word out of what options are available for students to take advantage of early on in their career. So, you know, for instance, today we had our twice annual all administrators, district administrators, principals, CT coordinators, anybody from the school that really wants to come. All of our local high schools send representatives to a Gateway campus, and we kind of move it around so they can see different campuses. And we spend a couple hours and just, you know, kind of showcase what opportunities they have to engage with their students. And we also, to the data point, we track that. So when we look at over the last academic year, you know, over 5,000 students taking, you know, transcripted or dual credit opportunities. That's free to the high school and the college in doing so. So that saves our local community and parents about $2.5 million a year. So showing those numbers and sharing those numbers and also then breaking that down per school. And, you know, kind of giving a plaque to the local superintendents and district administrators showing what they saved their local community. Creates a little competition among the schools to do more with Gateway, but also gives them something to showcase with their boards and the citizens of their community as we're going on. So transcripted credit is one opportunity that we do a lot with, but some other dual credit opportunities to kind of prime that pump. A lot of high school academies that we're doing right now. So in the area of computer numerical control, CNC machining, criminal justice, advanced manufacturing, welding are some common ones. Some of these take place on a Gateway campus. Others of these take place in the high school where Gateway sends an instructor to do that. Many of these lead to certificates, diplomas, a technical diploma, even before graduation. So while it's not a large number, there are students that will graduate from Gateway with their, you know, technical college degree before their high school, partly because our semester ends a little earlier than theirs. So we'll get them out done here kind of the end of April, May, and they're not usually walking the stage for high school until June. So it is not uncommon either for students to have a college degree even before their high school degree in that regards. Those academies are really based on the boot camp model that Jim was talking about that we started many, many years ago. Started with adults, but to your point, Nicole, we need more and more people in the workforce. So how do we get students interested in that earlier? So we started doing high school boot camps, which I'd say has kind of morphed and evolved now into a kind of an academy model. But essentially that was all, you know, built from that partnership that we created with SC Johnson, you know, so many years ago. And then the latest one really is to kind of put that carrot out there through the SCJ Scholars, STEM Scholars initiative, to now where students in the areas of engineering, you know, specifically looking at women and other underrepresented minorities, have the opportunity to pick an engineering path of their choosing that's kind of offered at Gateway. and do 2 years at Gateway, essentially tuition free, and then transfer to some of our 4-year university partners to continue on with a scholarship to help them go all the way through and get their full bachelor's degree in engineering. Again, all with that support of SC Johnson, but getting the word out that these opportunities are available and having parents and students both understand that really takes a lot of communication. And as Brian said, almost a daily effort of talking and sharing that story and empowering people to communicate on our behalf, because we can't get in front of every student. So we need amplifiers in the community to be able to do that for us.
Wow, Matt, all I can think about is I think I might want to go back to high school.
Lots of opportunity. There's no doubt about it.
Yes. It just blows me away to think you could earn your associate's degree prior to your high school diploma, and what a leg up that would give you in this competitive economy as you think about your future career. Brian, did I cut you off? Did you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I really appreciate Matt's comments and how he creates this weave of opportunity. So typically, if you think about how a grant is developed, you write an idea, you write it up, someone funds it, and then that's sort of the end of the story. When the grant ends, the project usually ends. This is a growth process for partnerships. I mean, if you look behind Matt's screensaver, SC Johnson IMED Center located at Gateway Technical College. Prior to that, Gateway had a full accredited campus at the SC Johnson Waxdale facility for what we'll call mechatronics today. It was industrial maintenance at that time, but we've moved that and built a whole new facility based on Industry 4.0 and continue that partnership. And Jim mentioned the boot camps have evolved now, as Matt mentioned, into academies. And who knows where it's going to go from there. But yeah, these partnerships continue to weave greater and greater opportunities. And I think that's what's so powerful about the relationship that we have with Jim and the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sherry, if I could
Yes.
go to you next,
Sure.
I was really, your story really touched me, and that I think so many people during the pandemic had to pause and say, what now? And reassess their work, their career, and then like where they were going. How would you sustain it? How do you grow
Yes.
your career? How do you get ahead? And I know that you did a lot of reflection on that. So I'm curious to hear how this program impacted you. How did they help you make some choices and then network to get to where you are today?
Well, first of all, I graduated from Gateway in 1987 with a food service associate degree. So I'm very proud of that. And I had excellent instructors. And so I was in food service, and I thought that was going to be my career. And yeah, this pandemic came along and food service was hit hard. And not only that, but my father passed away in 2019, and he was in an establishment that could have used a little improvement. So I made a vow to him, to myself, that I was going to take care of someone's loved one the way I would want my father to be taken care of. But I didn't know how all this was going to come about. And so I got an email from someone at church saying that this company was hiring to be a caregiver. And I'm like, wow, okay, I've never been a caregiver, but really, Sherry, you are a caregiver. Being in a food service industry, you are caring for others. So I thought, all right, I can bring that to the table. So I applied for this company, and I'm working part-time, making $13 an hour. And then my boss, she's like, Sherry, we just got an email about this HOPE program. And this HOPE program, you could go through Gateway and be a certified nursing assistant. And I said, now, wait a minute. I haven't been in school in a long time. I don't know if I can do this. And it's all online because, of COVID. So really, I had to really assess who I was, where I was going, and what are my options. So Gateway the whole program, and my willingness to step out of the box, because I thought to myself, Sherry, you're only going to grow in that uncomfortableness. So let's give it a try. So I filled out the application, and then the program was, I thought, okay, now I have to take off when we have clinicals, and I got to buy a uniform, and I have to do all these things, and I'm only working part-time. Then the instructor says, SC Johnson is paying you to take this course too. So then my worries about taking off of work to do clinicals and buying my uniform, I was just like, I felt like I was on cloud nine. I felt so blessed. And once again, I just have to reiterate, I had an excellent instructor. So kudos to Gateway for continuing to get great instructors and that treat you like you are somebody that's going to go somewhere, and they're going to help you do it. And that's how I felt about the Hope program too, that someone else was behind me, supporting me, and was going to help me go somewhere, and I didn't have to do it alone. I had Gateway, I had the Hope program, and I was going somewhere, and I am going somewhere. And I love my job. So my degree in food service and my nursing assistant, I'm taking care of someone's loved one. This is awesome. I'm feeding them good meals. I'm using my nursing assistant certificate to help care for this person. And at the end of their lives, and why not bring my hope, my ray of sunshine to them? They're still a human being. They still have life. I'm not going to just disregard someone. And I also want to mention this too. When I think of Racine, I think of SC Johnson. Look at what SC Johnson has given to Racine. So I thought, you know what, Sherry, I want to give back too. I want to be part of giving just like SC Johnson. So I'm going to give back to my community. I'm going to give back and be a caregiver for someone's loved one. It could be 5 years, it could be 5 weeks, but it's meaningful to them to have someone care for them. And just real quick, the person that I'm caring for now, all of his children live out of state. So his children are entrusting me to care for him. And I was able to do that through Gateway and through the Hope program. And I was able to take training in the nursing program at Gateway. Oh my gosh, the new nursing setting and all that, it is just phenomenal. And you know what? I just have to tell you, I've been thinking about going back and maybe getting another, furthering my CNA. You know, what else can I do? So I feel very blessed. And look at where I am. This gift, this box of hope continues to give. I'm here today. I'm going to be with you on Monday. I want to be the advocate. I want to give back. I want to share my story. I want to say, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. Even you high schoolers, I want to give what I have been so graciously been given. So,
Well, Sherry, and there's no doubt in my mind that you will continue down that path of giving. And what a great role model and just perfect example of what SC Johnson brings to our community. And Gateway just provides, you know, we're just one of the channels to deliver on that. I can just share with our audience a little bit how the Hope program came about, because Matt mentioned the STEM Scholars program. That's another great opportunity. We have the Smart Manufacturing Academy. That's a great opportunity. The SC Johnson IMED Center, the boot camps. But during the pandemic, I received a call from Jim Ladwick and said, our community is struggling because we are seeing a lot of people that are being dislocated from their jobs. And yet we know there's this whole class of essential workers. How can we help people re-engage, to retool very quickly, boot camp model style, right? To get into jobs where we know we have employment available for them. And that's where the HOPE program came about. There are about 7 different categories of which students can work their way into. But Jim, maybe just a quick comment. I mean, how did that idea resonate? And we're just so grateful that we're able to put it together in about 6 weeks, and boom, we were up and running.
Absolutely. And before I touch on that, Sherry, thank you for your story and all your kind words. And I can say you definitely are giving back to the community and making the community a better place through your work. So thank you for what you're doing. But yeah, so and I think you're gonna, through the course of the program today, I think you're going to hear some reoccurring themes. It's really about collaboration. It's about people, and it's about a willingness to help and make the community, desire to make the community a better place. So, but our ultimately, when the pandemic hit, and I will tell you, and I'll sound a little bit like a broken record here, but our chairman and CEO is a scientist, and he is passionate about providing opportunities to individuals for social and in economic mobility. And really, it's so some of the programs that have been brought up, whether some of them are supported through SC Johnson corporate, and some of them are actually personally funded through our chairman and CEO, Fitz Johnson, like the High School Smart Academy is something that he did personally. But back to the pandemic is, so it hit, and understanding that at the time, people didn't know a lot about COVID and what caused it. And, and being a manufacturer of home cleaning products, we couldn't keep our products on the shelf. I mean, we couldn't make enough products. I taking everybody back. I hate to do that, but it was an opportunity for us. And our chairman said, hey, we have to make a commitment to, we don't want to make money off of people that are suffering. So he said, we need to make a big commitment to give back to the communities we're in. So he said, let's make a pledge to donate $15 million to help the communities we're in regarding COVID relief. And that included everything from the CDC to Save the Children to our partnerships with Gateway. So we always like to have that local tie. So, being a global company, absolutely, but we want to take global resources and make an impact locally as well. So Brian and I got together and I said, we need to figure out a way to develop a program that addresses people locally that have been impacted, because Sherry is a prime example. The food industry, every place was shut down.
Yes.
So what happens to the people that are working in those industries? Where do they go? And ultimately what we said is we need to come up with jobs and training that puts people in high demand occupations that are still prospering. So it really was a collaborative effort. Brian, put together some great ideas, some great programs, brought those forward, and literally it was what, six weeks, Brian, and we were up running with the training programs and putting people on a path to achieving a certificate. And then the other part of it is, it wasn't just, here's your certificate. It was, there was counseling that went along with it. There was workforce development. There was job placement services. All of those went into it. So it wasn't just, hey, you got a certificate. It's, you got this certificate, and here are all the places that you can utilize that, and those connections. And once again, there's a lot of C's that we're talking about, but it's collaboration, connectivity, all of that. So that's really how it came about. And it truly is about partnerships and working together to find solutions that work for everybody, whether it be the community, whether it be the college, or whether it be SC Johnson. It's really, how do we make an impact to make the community better?
And you're definitely doing that. Thank you for that. I know that's work every day, and I think about what you said. I think, Brian, about you've got to do this work every day. You can't stop. So I feel like we probably have a lot of people watching that are maybe at technical college, in business and industry, working in our schools, that say my community has similar workforce gaps and needs. This feels like a lot. It's an amazing partnership and so many high impact programs. But if I'm starting from scratch, sitting here at my institution, what's the roadmap? Where do I start to bring something similar to my community?
Well, first, I mean, I would just do an assessment of what the community needs are, and it doesn't have to be a single employer. The work that we do with Jim and SC Johnson has created a ripple effect of conversations within the community. So now that several employers are involved in our boot camp training program, Matt will share with you how that's been extended to the Wisconsin Department of Corrections and now the youth correctional facilities. So the ideas alone will help create a momentum within the community. So that's number one, an assessment of what the needs are. And for us, it started as workforce. That was the need. But it's impacted a lot of different areas, as we've already heard today. And then I think after that assessment, we just have to find the right people that are also concerned about that issue. And the issue might be affordable housing, it might be food insecurity, it might be workforce training. And where we can align those needs, those partnerships will naturally occur as a result of that shared vision and that shared interest that I mentioned earlier. The challenge always is how do we implement something? So we're fortunate at Gateway. I mean, I mentioned our legacy, 111 years. We've got a lot of infrastructure, but there are other organizations that have infrastructure that can support. Jim mentioned workforce development. They have a lot of different unique federal funds that can also be added to the mix. So their goals can be met if we can tie it into a very specific training program. We look to the community in ways in which, like, SC Johnson supports early reading program. It's so important. Well, reading is important for education and especially for the college, right? So we actively get involved in those, and you start building all those touch points. And pretty soon a reading program partnered with United Way helps to connect a parent to a program at Gateway, gets them the skills they need, which leads to a better job. And so I think it's just really keeping that assessment alive within the community of where you can make all of these touch points. And I'll just comment on one other partnership that we have that we didn't even know where it was going to go. So several years ago, the Racine Police Department started a community outpost policing initiative called the Cop Houses. It's a national program now. There's communities all over the country doing that, but SC Johnson was the first one to partner with our local city police department. So where does Gateway fit? Well, those officers are trained at Gateway Technical College. So if we can help bring them into that model of policing earlier, they'll be better officers when they serve our community. And the location happens to be in our home community. So we brought Matt into the equation to say, what could we do for early learning in a community-based policing house? And he set up all kinds of really great activities for, second graders and third graders, and help build community involvement to help protect the community. So you never really know exactly where it's going to lead to, but when you hear stories like Sherry, you know that if you find the right people with the right intention, you tend to develop programs that have a sustaining ripple effect within the community, as Sherry mentioned. But I would just defer to Matt and Jim for their thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, one of the things I was going to add to that, and Brian touched on this, is it's also about looking at things differently and looking in, let's say, the non-traditional areas when you're looking for opportunities there. So look, we have a people shortage when it comes to people that are skilled to fill jobs, and so one of the programs Matt mentioned is our sponsorship of the STEM Scholars Program that is specifically targeting females, students of color, and individuals living below the poverty line. And those are traditionally people that have not gotten into the STEM fields in the numbers that are needed for society today. I mean, there's over 1 million STEM jobs that are currently going to be unfilled. So it's, how do you create opportunities that traditionally aren't the normal opportunities that exist? So it's identifying some of those scenarios. We're supporting we're partnering with the local school district here, the Racine Unified School District, on a STEM program targeting 6th, 7th, and 8th grade girls at one of the middle schools here. Well, that traditionally has not existed. We have another partnership that we're bringing to the school district where we're merging and we're going to engage the Gateway STEM Scholars in this, but it's a STEM and sport program. And it's looking for those, what I would say are not the traditional partnerships all the time. It's what are some of the other ways to bring people into those fields that traditionally have not been there.
I'll just add, going back to what Sherry mentioned, a lot of the support for the students. So to Jim's point, there is a people shortage issue, right? So we need to get more people into the workforce. Our unemployment rate throughout the state and stuff is, it's really low. So the people that aren't employed right now usually have some pretty significant barriers to employment. So how can we help them get over those barriers? So it's leveraging a lot of what we learned over the years from the SC Johnson boot camps and how we partner with our workforce development boards and county organizations to help. So if there's a flat tire or childcare or an emergency situation or other things that often derail people from finishing or starting or finishing their education, how can we keep them on those paths and having whatever you want to call career navigators or student success coaches or life coaches that will help them through those those trials and tribulations to start a program, to finish a program, but then those skills carry on into the workforce where you start a job and you continue at that job and life happens, but you don't let that completely derail your opportunities for growth in that area. It's bringing all of those resources together. So as Brian said, kind of looking at all your different areas and bringing those together to come together as really a community to support the people that need it most.
And Brian and Sherry both touched on this. The other part is as part of that whole program, there was a stipend that went along with that because, look, understanding that if people are going to go get training and they are working, well, they may not be able to work. So how do they get by during that training period? So that was another thing that Brian harped on that is and I mean that in a positive way, but that is a necessity, and it allows people to enter that may not have had the opportunity otherwise. And I know Sherry touched on it that, hey, this was great because it met a need for her.
Yes.
The counselor in me could not be more thrilled that you all have a lot of synergy around not just making sure our community members have the academic, the content, the workforce development needs to fill these gaps, but you also care about their personal and social, their mental health. How can we make this initiative successful for all involved? So I really commend you for taking time to think through both sides of the equation. It's not easy. We have a question out in the audience from Michael. He would like to learn more about how the high school students transition into a career at SC Johnson or other employers.
Very good. Maybe I'll let Matt start with that because it's his team that does the direct connection. Also important to know that SC Johnson is the model in creating the dialogue within the community, but literally hundreds of employers are now involved in different ways through job fairs, through recruitment, and Matt will just touch on some of those.
I see a lot of different ways, right? No silver bullet there, kind of meet the student where they're at, and also the employers. In today's world, it's relatively simple because employers are just screaming for people. So we really just get to be the matchmaker and set that up. So we have our employment services folks at Gateway that do that continuously for all of our we'll just say traditional college programming. But a lot of these specialized programs, we will partner with local businesses and at the end of the program or near the end of the program, often do something, either kind of a reverse job fair where the students make their own little booth and showcase the projects and their knowledge that they learned at the end. And then the employers kind of go around and get to kind of interview the students as they present on what they've done. But we also do a lot with, and again, started with the boot camps, way back in the day with SC Johnson, mock interviews. So we bring local employers in that are agreeing to interview all the students and then provide some feedback. Here's what you did well in the interview. Here are some things that you need to work on. Now, those mock interviews, as we've discovered over the years, often become very first level interviews as employers are taking those initial reactions. And often these mock interviews, while maybe not perfect, often lead to job offers very quickly. So it's just another way to give our students some practice, but also to engage our employers, because they are coming and donating their time and going to interview all of the students and provide that crucial feedback that they need for their professional development. But also they have what's in it for them. They're getting first pass at a new pool of talent that they can bring on their company.
And I'll also jump in on that. Is we have a lot of different partnerships when it comes to internships with schools. So there are opportunities there. We have different programs like that exist. But one of the things we do this as an effort to not necessarily meet our job needs. We do it as how do we create a better community and how do we provide more opportunity within the communities? As I mentioned, I oversee our philanthropy. So if I was developing a program that was funneling people to us, it would be a little bit of a problem with our tax folks, as well as the federal government. So we do participate, and I just had a conversation with Matt last week about this of, if understanding if the program is going to be meant to automatically fill our employment needs, then that has to come from a different pool of money. But if understanding, we're helping to provide these opportunities, we may recruit these same individuals that are going through the program. We just can't do it and say, okay, well, now you're going from here to SCJ. It has to be an open recruiting process where, they get to choose what they want. And I will tell you, the number of people when the latest stats I saw that go through the boot camp, employment is like 95%-ish, 96%. And generally the other 4 to 5% are going on for additional education. So it's not, it's a competitive environment. So from that perspective, yes, we love when they come to work for SCJ, but that is far from a requirement.
Which is really important to highlight in any of these business partnerships. There's another division that Matt oversees called customized training. So if an employer just wants the one thing that they want, skill set X, Y, and Z, you can contract that with Gateway. The idea of a community partnership and an education and business partnership is more holistic, as Jim described. It takes a lot of conversation around what's the intended outcome. Sherry is the best example of that. Unlikely that SC Johnson would need a home health care expert, right? But they have improved the community,
Yes.
which gives more vitality to the individuals in the community and a stronger desire to participate in education and workforce programs and so on. Sherry, maybe you want to just comment on that.
In our elderly, they're living longer, so I just think that the whole program has given Racine another, they're not all going to sunny Arizona, you know, and with more people going through either the nursing program or whatever program it is. And I believe that with Gateway and with SC Johnson's, we are making a difference in Racine and keeping the community to continue to grow in education and building the community in a more positive way. And I believe getting the word out and having examples like myself to let people know, you know what, this is a good thing, and it's an opportunity for everyone. It's not just certain people, it's an opportunity. And if you want that opportunity, go after it. Every day there's an opportunity. You just have to open the door.
Thank you, Sherry. I'm going to have one last question for you, and then I'll open it up to final thoughts and any questions in the chat from our group. But as I've listened to everyone talk today, and Sherry, you too, we know that the workforce needs are ever changing, that we have to be nimble as we're thinking about this. And I know, Matt, a lot of your programs are compressed, like 15 weeks short. Sherry, you talked about your fabulous instructors. We have a lot of teachers watching. If you had to give tips to our educators on how do they keep the content relevant, how do they make sure students are prepared for these ever-changing workforce needs, any advice for those educators out there?
To be accessible to their students, to be accessible. And my instructor, Sarah, she was very relatable, very accessible. No, ask any question. Even after school, I could, you know what? I could text her right now and she would be willing to answer my question. And I graduated last May. So be accessible to your students and let them know that each one of them are just as important, and be supportive of them. That means the world. That meant the world to me, because I was going into the program, I was very nervous. Like I said, going into it, build my self-esteem, because I didn't know what I was walking into. So that reassurance, I felt empowered by my instructor, you know, doing the different tasks that we had to do as a CNA. And she really empowered us. You can do this, you can do this. And we are going to do this task until you can do it. So that was wonderful. But I really believe being accessible to your students, and I don't mean you should be on call 24/7. That's not what I mean. Just let them know that you're there for them and that you're going to see them through. And you know what? The students that are really wanting to do this, it will be a great partnership. It will be a great partnership, a great relationship.
Yes, absolutely. Matt, we do have a question in the chat for you. Do certifications matter to employers, or are they looking for students that have the skills for a position?
That question the answer to that kind of changes over time. I mean, right now they'll take just about anybody. They're very desperate. I mean, just being honest, right? If you have certifications, that definitely moves you to the front of the line. And will get you more opportunities quicker. So yes, I mean, we do have, employers that will ask for some specific certifications. Our CNC students are very well known for their precision measurement skills, and that is done through a partnership with Starrett, a precision manufacturer of, like, say, precision gauges. So those type of certifications that are very specific to their areas, they do look for that. It's no longer a requirement. They're broadening a much wider net And then as Brian mentioned, often Gateway will get contracted on the side as another offering that we offer to go out to their place of employment and train a lot of their new employees with those certifications that we have embedded into many of our programs. So we do make sure that all of our academic programs have industry certifications built into them, because that gives Gateway students to be kind of top choice of our area employers. Plus, if you go outside of our community, you know, Gateway may not be that well known, but our partners, whether it's SC Johnson or Snap-on or Starrett and other industry brands that we have embedded into our programs, those are global brands that allow our students to go anywhere.
Great, thanks, Matt. Well, team, the time has gone so fast. We have just another minute or so. Any last thoughts for our group of participants watching today?
Well, I can jump in and just say thank you again, Nicole, and thanks ACTE for allowing us to share this experience. And in Wisconsin, you know, we deal with a lot of snow, and even though it's spring, we still have snow in our community. And I would just challenge everyone, when you see snow, most people look straight ahead and then they look down and start shoveling to get rid of it. Change your perspective, and that's what Jim was mentioning. Next time it snows, look up. Look up and watch how beautiful the snow is coming down. Every one of those opportunities are uniquely different to enhance your view of the world. So just great to be here today.
Nicole, I just want to thank everyone too from ACTE. Brian, I love that perspective, and we all learned so much today, and we appreciate everyone's time and perspective and value your input. So
And thank you, Megan. I did want to just do a little shout out, LaKendra and Matt. I know you're looking to do something similar in your respective states and school districts. I can't tell you what a valuable partner ACTE has been in my community with our school district and our university and technical colleges, as well as each of these participants. So if you're looking to learn more, to figure out how to take all these best practices of what Brian, Jim, Matt, and Sherry shared today, we hope the conversation doesn't end right now, but please reach out. We're here to help you and support you. And we can't wait to see similar partnerships bloom this spring all across the country. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks, everyone.
Bye.